So why do really smart people do dumb things? I mean, since I was a kid, people have called me smart. And I'm like, oh, you're so smart. But I'm incredibly dumb when it comes to other things. Sometimes I'm in a room and someone's making a joke and everybody's laughing and I'm the only one going, what is going on right now? And I've definitely run into the same wall more than once in my life and I'm not proud of it. But I'm still growing and developing like everybody else. But this question has fascinated me since I was a teenager, and for the last 40 years, I've been looking into adult development from, psychologists like Piaget and Leary and Korzybski and even Keegan and all these other people that have talked about evolution as sort of a ladder, right? And even the wisdom traditions, they teach you progressively evolving yourself. But the ladder has a problem because when we think about this evolution like this, then the first mistake people make is they think it's a hierarchy, right? It's not like when you're here, when you're rational, then you're not emotional anymore, or you're not in the physical consciousness anymore. It's actually a holarchy, right? All of those things work together. And it's easy to, when you're here, suddenly say, oh, these people down there are dumb, right? Which is why also a second theory developed in the last years. It's about the field, where people say, depending on context, depending on the situations, different things get activated. But that leaves out the personal responsibility a little bit. And in all these years, what I found my favorite metaphor so far is the human punch card. Some of you might remember them. They look like this. It's a punch card. This is how they used to program originally looms and later computers. And it's essentially, rows and columns that have certain holes open and certain holes closed. Right? And in a way, we all look through our own little punch card, and certain things are open and we see them clearly and they become very obvious to us. And other things we can't even see because the hole is simply closed. So this kind of helped me to understand why smart people do dumb things, because we might be very, very open in some areas of our lives and in other areas are closed to us. Right? And each of us has a very unique pattern, and each of us, with every new experience, opens new holes. And every time we really learn something, not just cognitively learn something, not just, read something in a book somewhere, but when we actually have the experience and we embody it, then these holes kind of open. Right? And we have these capacities that we develop, which might still, come in line or come offline in different situations. For example, someone might be a super smart executive who can read the boardroom like nobody else, but then go home to the dinner table and not understand what his family is doing and why everybody is silent when he's around. Or the artist who understands big cultural patterns, but then at the same time doesn't know how to, deal with people or feel socially awkward when they're around other people. So we all have our unique patterns, and the goal is not to, go higher and higher and higher, but the goal is to open up more holes, right? Become more integrated. And in some ways, that's maybe a never-ending story, or at least in this lifetime, we'll probably never open up all the holes and become enlightened, right? Where we can clearly see everything. We're probably still going to have some holes to work on. But this is my invitation for you to this week to think about where are some areas where you're kind of underdeveloped, where you're not really clear. It might be a physical emotion or intelligence, or it might be emotional intelligence. It might be on a cognitive level. It might be on a relational level. It might be in terms of expressing yourself. It might be in your capacity to vision or in your capacity to create here. We all have different levels and different, areas that we can work with, and ultimately we want to open up as many holes as possible. So this week, find yourself a domain where you're maybe a little dumb still, and look at what can you learn about this, right? How can you become maybe more embodied, or how can you work on your emotional intelligence, or how can you, study some logic and learn some new patterns, or learn about AI, or how can you, become closer about relating to yourself and other people, right? There's different ways that we can all evolve, and yours is uniquely yours, and I'm sure you're really smart in some areas and maybe a little dumb in others, just like everybody else.